Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Grow Wealthy Grooming. I am your host, Riverly, and I am founder of the Savvy Groomer, where I teach you guys to go from being burnt out, broke to healthy, wealth, and happy, building a grooming business on your terms. So this episode has a few sponsors, all the sponsors. So we are sponsored today by the Price Increase Masterclass, the Membership Model Masterclass, and the Pay Grooming Employee Masterclass. So let me tell you a little bit about our sponsors today. So the Membership Model Masterclass is a 6-module masterclass where I teach you guys to go from creating and implementing a membership. The Price Increase Masterclass is, again, I like my 6-module masterclasses that will teach you guys how to go about increasing or at least restructuring your prices. And then for the Pay Masterclass, that is again, 6-module masterclass. I love me some 6-module masterclasses where we teach you guys all about paying your employees a livable wage while still being profitable. So let's go ahead and hop into today's topic. I might make some of you guys mad today, and I hope I don't make you mad, but sometimes that's what happens. So today's topic is all about hustle culture. Bum, bum, bum. So I was inspired to have this conversation because I think that there is a massive shift in the industry. And again, I feel like I have become the bearer of bad news with a lot of these shifts. And because I see them a lot, I do one-on-one coaching with the master classes. I see these patterns. Like I feel like one of the best things about Savvy Groomer is that we don't just create things. We're like, okay, this worked for this one person. We look at like what is going on in the whole industry. And of course, what's going on in the whole industry may not specifically work for you. We're not here. We don't create cookie cutter stuff. But what we do is we see patterns and we go, okay, what's going on with this pattern? How can we stop this from happening? Or better yet, what is going on? What is the deeper cause of this? And I think this is something that I think we really need to talk about. So we've done videos before, both for Greedy Bitch and Grow Wealthy Grooming, about the groomer shortage or the groomer drought. We need more people in our industry, right? But I think a lot of it is like this overall arching thing, right? Like there's a lot of pieces going on in this. So I think some of it is what used to work 20, 30 years ago does not work anymore. It is not culturally working. The whole industry is changing. And I believe that's a couple of reasons. I think number one, it's because for better or for worse, the ownership of dogs and the ownership of cats and the general ownership of pets has changed. I think that the way that my generation and my mom's generation, my grandparents' generation, and now my son's generation see pets is totally different. My mom used to see her dogs as furniture that happens to eat, right? They were just there. They were the kids' dogs. They just kind of like lived, right? And my grandparents were even less. At least my mom kept the dogs on the property. My grandparents' dog just roamed the neighborhood and came back, and that was just how it was. And then for me, my pet, I love my animal, I love my dog, I love my cat, and again, I have a healthy relationship with them. But I see a lot of people that have like these like very unhealthy relationships with their pets. And a lot of that is like living vicariously through their pets or treating their pet. I believe in treating your pet like family. Like I would say that I am my pet's parent. But I wouldn't say that my pet is my child. And again, I don't care if you do. No different than I don't care if you call them your fur babies. Like I hate that term, but if you love it, you love it. Same as if I call someone a baby groomer. I love that term. You may hate that term. Everyone has to decide what they like. But to me, the fundamental difference between someone saying my pet is my child is, again, that culture around this is something so intrinsically close to me. It used to be like I have to tell men, I don't want your dog to come on our dates. Like that's intense. I wouldn't bring my son on a date, but they'll bring their dog. Like their dog will be sitting in a car, or they'll bring their dog into a restaurant, into a place that's not dog friendly. So that has changed. And the other thing that's changed is, of course, culturally, millennials and Gen Z doesn't want to work ourselves to the bone. I feel like Gen X and, boomers, they really viewed their worth based on their careers, especially with feminism, right? And I'm not against feminism. That's awesome. Yay, I love having equal opportunity. But the truth is that, where I listened to my grandma about her struggle with going into work, like her dream of becoming a nurse and feeling like the opportunity to work was a blessing. That's so alien for me, right? Because I remember being expected to work. And then I listened to my mom, and my mom was very much, and again, my mom was a single mom. So again, if you had a two-parent household, you're going to have a different perspective. But my mom was forced, like she always wanted to be working and she enjoyed work, but having to provide two incomes for one household, I think was something that really traumatized me as a kid, watching my mom work herself to the bone. And even now, my mom doesn't have a lot. Like during the 2008 crash, she lost everything. She filed for bankruptcy. She lost her house. It was a lot. So I think when you put in perspective people that are millennials or Gen Z, we look at a totally different life picture than people that are there. So I think those two fundamental cornerstones. Then we always talk about hustle. So, and again, I'm not here to speak for my generation. I'm going to speak from my perspective as River Lee, not as a Savvy Groomer, but as River Lee. And then I'm going to give you my perspective as a business coach. So as River Lee, I grew up with this: you are only worth what you work, what you provide. You have to be useful in order to be loved, worthy, cared for, etc. So that is where the boss babe, the hustle culture has really exploded, right? And that worked out really well, I feel like, for boomers and Gen X when they needed young, fresh talent. And it's funny because they acted like we were lazy, and we're like, we're not lazy. We just don't want, the only thing for us to be worthwhile is to this. And it's really hard to go first. We saw a lot of millennials kind of pull back. And now with Gen Z coming to the workload, it's a lot easier for millennials to be like, you know what, actually, yeah, we would like a vacation. We would like to go home, not in pain, and go home and relax and have time off and go travel and do these things, right? So when we're talking about hustle culture in our industry, this is why commission is falling apart. For better or for worse, guys, expecting someone to come into work 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, and hustle every day is not realistic. It's not realistic. I do think that boomers and Gen X did do that, and I really appreciate you guys for doing that. But when we look at you guys, when millennials and Gen Z look at you guys, it's not like the majority of you guys have big retirements and lots to show for it. It's kind of like you burned yourselves out. You have not much to show for it. And you're like, okay, cool, now it's your turn. And we're like, oh, no, thank you. So this is why in our pay masterclass, we're teaching, of course, we're going to teach you why, we suggest hourly pay plus bonuses versus commission. You guys can absolutely do commission. You can do whatever the hell you want. Listen, again, there's no cookie cut or anything. But as an industry as a whole, we have to get away from this commissioned perspective. Why? Because when you hear hustle, I want you to think about burnout. Commission is burnout. Commission is you can only make as much as you are doing. So if you're having a bad day, if you are sick, if you're having a bad day, tough shit, suck it up, rub some dirt in it, go, right? It doesn't lead itself to a kind employer-employee situation. And for those of you guys that are like, well, otherwise they'd be lazy. Well, I'll be very honest. If you're hiring lazy employees, you're hiring lazy employees. those of you guys that are saying like, oh, they'll be lazy employees, you're also having the groomer that will like take on all the dogs, groom all the dogs, get burned out, need 2 days off, right? Or take no extra dogs because they're so burned out, right? And then they're out of money. So they're like, oh my God, I need all the dogs, right? We need to start creating sustainable, stable systems. We need to start creating rhythms, regular client lists. We need to start creating easy, simple workloads instead of this feast or famine as an industry, guys. And again, this is not going to be very popular with a lot of people. But the truth is, we're not going to get more people in the industry unless we can tell them how much we're going to pay them. If I went to the average, not a groomer, because again, we need more groomers. I think that's something we have to remember. It's not just about paying people that are already in the industry. It's about getting more people in our industry. If I walked up to Susie Q on the street and I said, hey, Susie Q, I would like you to learn how to be a groomer. And if they said, okay, well, how much does it pay? Say 50%. What does that mean? Let me tell you, it is so frustrating when I have students that go to buy a house, or a business owner who has, employees, and they're like, my employee went to go buy a house and they were denied. Why? Because their income was all like this, and they have to wait, just like a business owner, sometimes 2 years to buy a house, versus if they had a guaranteed hourly wage plus bonuses, they would have been able to buy a house. It's crazy. But I want you to really consider that, okay? So again, if you have stability and structure, it's going to be easier to bring people in from the industry. If I say to Susie Q, hey, Susie Q, you're going to work this many hours, this many days, and if you get done early, you get the same amount of money, and I'm going to pay you $50,000 a year. That is a lot easier. Again, Susie Q, before she leaves her corporate job, before she leaves her retail job, before she leaves wherever she's going to be and come into our industry, right? We need to shift that. And again, if we're selling hard labor and hustle, no one wants to do that. We are not going to, as an industry, sell hustle and hard labor. It's not going to happen. I think that's the problem too, right? Is we're like, we need more people here. And people are like, what's it like to be a groomer? And we're like, oh my God, it's awful. I'm tired. My body hurts. I get pooped on and peed on, and people are awful to me. Well, of course, we're not getting more people in the industry, right? I wouldn't want to come in the industry. Unless if you have like complete people that are true entrepreneurs, right? Or true grooming artists, right? They're the kind of people that are like, no matter what, I'll figure it out. Right. But they don't make good employees, unfortunately. The majority of them make great business owners, or they make great artists, but very rarely do they make great long-term sustainable employees. And that's what we need. We need more long-term, steady, sustainable employees. We need more steady, sustainable groomers. We need more of them. We need to start attracting them. Again, how much per year is that 50% that you're offering? Can you guarantee that money? Most of you guys can't. You're going to say you can get as much as hard as you want to work. Okay. That's not totally true, because they're not in charge of booking their own dogs. And if they are, why would they work for you and not build their own business? Again, we need to start thinking like business owners and not just groomers who happen to have employees. We've got to change the thing. Now, with pay, our masterclass, it really goes hand in hand with price increase masterclass. Why? Because sometimes in order to pay that livable wage, to pay a groomer a guaranteed $50,000 a year, we need to raise our prices, especially as we come into this recession, right? Because we need to create that sustainable income. We need to create that money. That way, if our business has a slow time, we can still pay our good, loyal employee, right? Because our employees should not lose money if our business is slow. That has nothing to do with them. That's our responsibility as a business owner. So when we raise our prices, we have enough money in our emergency funds and our sinking funds, right? We pay off our debts. And then we're going to have money here to pay this person sustainably, to give them a 2-week paid vacation, right? We need to be able to pay them that. Now, one of the easiest ways to do that coming into a recession is our membership masterclass. Again, all these things are working together. I know it's almost like I had this planned, right? So in the membership, what's amazing is, again, you can have a set number of guaranteed. And again, we have 5 different membership models. So if you guys want to find out more about what kinds of memberships that we suggest, you can go to savvygroomer.com/MW, as in membership workshop, makes sense. And that'll actually show you guys, it's a free workshop where you can learn more about the 5 different membership models we suggest and why membership may or may not be for you. But the benefit of doing a membership is, again, you have those guaranteed contracted clients, right? So if I create a steady, sustainable pay for my employees, if I create prices enough that I'm supporting to pay this employee, whether or not my business slows down or not, right? Because I have a sinking fund and an emergency fund. And I have clients that are guaranteed to not shop hop, to not try to push out their appointments, right? By doing all 3 of these things, that, and I hate to use the word recession proof, but that really is, right? Because again, we have those 3 pillars. And as Savvy Groomer is growing, we are trying to help you guys create those sustainable systems. There are too many times when you guys are looking for a quick, easy solution. And a lot of it is just building a good foundation. And I remember when I had my shop and I had 5 employees and they were making me all crazy. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way. So instead of doing everything the hard way, guys, consider just doing it the easy way. Consider just coming and hanging out with us and doing these things, right? Because hustle culture is not a good culture. It is not good to hustle unless it is a season of hustle. If you say to your team, hey, these next 3 months, we have a 3-month hustle. Great. 3-month hustle, and then we're going to take it easy and take a break, right? We need to create sustainability, right? I don't think that people can sustainably hustle in a business and work at high productivity rates without injury, mental health problems, right? For a long period of time. Now, some of us are built that way. Some of us can. Most of us can't, and we're burning our employees out. And again, it might be today's your turn to take on the bulk. Today's your turn to take on the bulk. So let's start creating sustainability, right? I can't tell you how much happier employees are. Again, you're like, people, they won't take it. Well, if they have a steady paycheck and they have a minimum and maximum amount of dogs to do, right? And if they do more than, if they're willing to take on more, we give them bonuses, right? But if they don't, that's it. And if I have a groomer who, again, has their dogs for the day, right? They get their list of dogs in the morning. And as soon as they're done, let's say they're done 2 hours early, get all their dogs groomed 2 hours early, they clean up their station, they want to go home, I'm going to let them go home and give them their full day's worth of hourly. They did a full day's worth of pay, the whole day's worth of work. Of course, they're going to get a full day's pay. That employee will never leave. Because imagine working for somebody who says, here's your dogs for the day. As soon as you're done, your station's cleaned, right? You've done everything you do. You got to check in with your manager before you leave. You can't just leave. You got to check with your manager. They double check everything and you can leave. That's an amazing job. That's something you can do sustainably, right? That's a job you're like, man, I just have such a great position. Unless if you are a true entrepreneur, and then they were going to leave you no matter what. So I want to thank you guys so much for being here with me today. I know this is, again, just a concept, and it's something I want you guys to really digest, and if you are that hustle groomer, and you've been grooming and hustling for 30 years, let me ask you, would you trade it? And for some of you guys, you wouldn't trade it, right? You're like, nope, I really love that hustle. And I say that that's not for everyone. Not everyone is built to be a CEO. I look at someone like Tony Robbins, who's just this go, crazy, travel the world, do this and that. I would not love that. I love being home. I love going out and traveling and having fun and then relaxing. When we travel, we're all different. I have friends that they're FOMO. They're like, every time they travel, they want to do everything every minute. And I'm like, I want to do one big thing, one small thing, and then relax the rest of the time when I travel. So when I travel with someone who's hustle, I'm like, you hustle. I'm going to take it easy. That person might say that I'm loafing or lazy. And I might say that they're burning themselves out because guess what? They need a vacation from their vacation. I come back well rested. And it's all about what you value. And if you are a hustle groomer, then make sure that's who you're hiring. And make sure who you're hiring is sustainably like that. And again, if you start noticing and looking around, there's less and less and less power groomers. Because for the most part, those power groomers, it's not like they have more money than the rest of us, right? And that's just it. I just think that that's an unfortunate truth in our industry. So if you guys are interested in learning more about the membership model masterclass, be sure to check that out at savvygroomer.com/mm. Again, as a membership masterclass or membership model too. I guess that makes sense. We're going to teach you guys how to create and implement your membership model, including knowing your clientele, perfecting your pricing, and handling client reactions. If you're interested in the price increase masterclass, check that out at savvygroomer.com/PIMC. Again, it's going to teach you how to formulate and implement your price increase so you can finally make the money you need and grow your business. A lot of you guys really need to figure out what's going on with your money. And I generally suggest if you're going to take one of the three first, that the first one that you take is the price increase masterclass. Again, that's going to really help you restructure and figure out what is going on in your finances, and then say, okay, once I've gotten that down, what am I going to pay these employees? And if I did create a membership, what is this going to look like? And then the last masterclass that I would highly suggest you guys check out is the pay masterclass. And again, that's savvygroomer.com/PGMC, pay groomer masterclass. And this is going to teach you guys how to create a pay structure that actually works. We'll show you guys how to calculate sustainable pay structures and set you on the back end to legally pay employees, create bonuses and benefits to keep those employees. So thank you guys so much for being here with me. I know talking about hustle culture can be a little triggering. I feel like I'm going to get a lot of hate for this live, but to me, it's so important because I do think we need to remember what is going on socially and what does that look like in our business. You know, there are very few people successfully running a grooming salon the same way 30 years ago as today, unless if you have built up that clientele, built up that business, built up your groomers, and maybe have lower rent or a paid for building. But a lot of those people that are then turning around and selling that business, right? And they're finding that not many people want to buy it, or if they do buy it, it's not sustainable for a second generation. So I do think we really need to consider how we're going to shift that in the industry. And like I said, we're all here for the Savvy Groomer revolution. And if you're not, that's okay too. I'm glad that I got a chance to at least, speak to you a little bit. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here. As always, my name is River Lee. I'm the founder of the Savvy Groomer. If you want to check out my free stuff, go to savvygroomer.com and you can see my free Facebook group, which is Savvy Pet Professionals, my YouTube, and of course, my podcast, Greedy Bitch. So thank you guys so much. And as always, guys, happy grooming.